Hi there. This video is about the fundamental principles of Tai Chi, which obviously apply when we're doing Tai Chi forms, for example, but can also apply to other activities such as everyday life or even fighting. So these principles were written down in a set of documents called the Taiji Classics, which date mainly from the 19th century, though often claim to be older. And there's kind of a Cliff Notes version of them called the Yang's 10 Important Points. And they are kind of like pithy little Chinese sayings like Xi Ling Ding Qi, or maybe Song Zhong Zheng. A lot of times these are hard even for Chinese people to understand. And so I want to create the 1 Minute Manager version, the Cliff Notes version, and use some very simple English terms and try and get at what they are fundamentally about. So, 4 words: suspended, straight, soft, sunk. So, these 4 terms. So, suspended, first of all. So, feel as if a golden cord is lifting you up from the crown of your head, held by Guan Yin, the Chinese goddess of universal compassion. And you are just hanging off that cord. So it's not like in the army where you are trying to stand up straight, right? It's not that kind of feeling. And it's not rigid. It's not like, a stiff line through your body. It's like if you had a little chain that was held from above. That chain would basically be straight, though if there were a wind that went by, it might sway a little bit. Still be loose, but also straight because suspended from above. Also, going down, there is a corresponding equal and opposite energy. The crown of your head being lifted up, and the bottom of your body, you could think of your perineum, your pelvic floor, or your sacrum at the bottom of your spine as being heavy and slowly dropping away. So that creates a slight natural extension in your spine. So you could feel your spine is getting longer. And in fact, sometimes it may actually get longer. When I measure myself against a wall chart, I'm actually sometimes an inch or 2 taller after doing Tai Chi. Also in terms of straight, I could go sideways and look at this area here in the back of my neck, which is called in Chinese, Yujin, jade pillow. Jade here means something like precious. I could think of that area as being gradually pulled open and lengthened by some other force. Not like I'm lengthening it, but like something or someone else is lengthening and opening out. In fact, there are various forms of body work, including but not limited to craniosacral work and Alexander technique, where someone will take hold of your head and very gently, slowly, softly and respectfully help you to allow that to lengthen. So then in your low back here, a lot of times these muscles are held fairly tight. So see if you can just allow those muscles to relax. So your tailbone can just, by tailbone I mean your sacrum here, sink straight down to a point between your heels. And then having found that straightness, see if you can maintain that as you move. Now later on, we're going to allow ourselves a little bit more fluidity in the spine and the torso. But for right now, just see, assuming that keeping this straight was something you wanted to do, could you do it? how would you do it? And I think that you start to get the answer that it has to come from the lower body. Okay. Let me elaborate a little bit further on what I mean by straight. So, this is the area of your pelvis. Pelvis is a Latin word that means bowl. The French word bassin also means exactly the same thing. The French word for pelvis, bassin, also means exactly the same thing. In Chinese, it's called gupan. Gu means bone, and pan means pot. So excuse me for a moment while I borrow one of my wife's flower pots. So this is pan. So you see, that flower pot is kind of like my pelvis. In the way I'm carrying the pelvis, the flower pot level, I'm also carrying my pelvis level. I can imagine my pelvis as a bowl filled with sacred water. In traditional Indian villages, when a woman is going to be married, she has to take a pot of water back from the well, put it on her head, and bring it to her new parents-in-law's house without spilling a drop of the water. Otherwise the wedding is off. So you can kind of think of it like that, okay? You have this bowl of sacred water in your pelvis. You're carrying it, not dropping, not allowing even a single drop to fall. So how might a drop fall? Well, I might have my foot behind me, and that might cause my pelvis to tip like this. So then water would spill out the front. Or I might be reaching out in front or up, and my pelvis might tip the other way, and then water might tip out the back. So then even as I'm going forward, I'm still maintaining the pelvis in that same trim. When the leg comes forward again, still that same trim. Also side to side. So I could step here and then the hip could like flow a little bit this way. I could step here, the pelvis could flow a bit this way. We don't do any of that. Pelvis is just carried. Now, there's a particular quality of movement that comes out of this. Soft and sunk. So that actually is our next word, soft, so let's move on to that. So soft. So one of the Chinese proverbs is sunk shoulder, dropping elbow. So even as, for example, the arms come up, they don't become tense and nothing else lifts up. It's as if all your muscles are hanging off your bones. Or as if your hand is like draped over something. Like I could put my arm on somebody's shoulder. It would be that kind of position. Also in the torso, sunk, there's another taiji saying, soft chest, full back. So every time you breathe out, allow your chest to soften. Breathing primarily in the belly and low back area, not so much involving the chest, so not so much of this. That tends to bring the energy up, whereas we want to be sunk, so we want to breathe into the lower part of our torso. Every time we breathe out, let go a little more. Every time we breathe in, fill a little more down here. So talking more, again, a little bit more about soft. So perhaps now just look at my lower body. there is no more tension in my legs than is absolutely needed to keep me from absolutely collapsing on the ground. If there were any less, here I would go, I would just go right down to the ground, right? So it's kind of springy, held from above. Oh, I should add in that respect, there is another Chinese saying, which is roughly like a fly could not land on my arm without causing it to sink. Or if there were a feather on it, the feather could not be removed without causing it to rise. So there's that exact feeling of being exactly suspended in a very springy way. Perhaps I should have added another S there, springy. And in fact, I think I will. Springy. Your whole body is springy. Your torso, your arms, your legs are springy like this, and springy like this. Springy. For example, doing push hands. If someone pushes right at me with a lot of force, I'm not phased at all. All that happens is they are compressing that spring in my back leg, and then that spring in my back leg is going to bounce right back at them. Okay, it's like, cool, absorb back and work with that. Or maybe if they push my arm, it's like there's a springy space between my arm and my body. So we'll add springy to our list. Okay, sunk. So, not this. This is not sunk, okay? I may be externally low, but internally I'm actually pretty tense and pretty rigid. And if someone were to come up and push me like this, I would be gone. This is sunk. Soft, springy, suspended. You see how these all work together? If someone pushes me like this, you'll notice, by the way, that my response might involve a little bit of flow in the body, that I might temporarily lose that straightness, or rather deliberately choose not to be straight. But then if I find myself in this kind of position, let's say someone is pushing me, I have no control over where my chest is. But what I can do is soften until my lower body is now directly under that place. So now I established my straightness. I didn't try and fight back like this, that's not going to work. I just flow and soften until I naturally become straight. Okay, so we got our set now, I think, more or less. Suspended from above. As if Guan Yin is lifting you up from above. So I'm just going to just as you ordinarily, walk along the street, You're suspended from above. Straight. Naturally straight. Hanging straight. Not held straight. Hanging straight. Soft. Fluid. So usually in Chinese, people use the term song. So song is usually mistranslated relax. It can be very annoying to be in a Tai Chi class, and a teacher is always saying relax, and you think, what? This movement's so hard, how can I relax? That's not exactly what song means. Song means be loose. So maybe you're doing some I don't know what you're doing, maybe yeah. Okay? Was that relaxed? Yeah, maybe. I think perhaps loose would be a better term for it. You see, all my joints are loose. So the energy can just kind of run through very naturally. It's not like I had to force it or push it. It's not like that, okay? So that when your Tai Chi teacher, if you have one, says relax, you'd be better off to translate that for yourself as loose. Loose is also what song means in ordinary, everyday Chinese. Say, losa songa. The screws come loose, okay? So in a bad sense, if something on your car is loose, it's a bad thing. Okay, so here we are. Suspended, straight, soft, whole body soft. And this takes priority over the details of the form. If you're doing the form, it's usually better to do it in a soft and loose way, even if it's not absolutely correct, than to really get uptight about forcing yourself to do it exactly right. So cut yourself a little slack on that, okay? So, legs, soft and springy, remember that, springy. So there's a natural flow from your lower body. And that natural flow from your lower body naturally transmits itself to your upper body. So that's actually another one of the classic Chinese sayings about how your energy has its root in the place where your feet touch the ground. And it rises upward through the legs, is controlled by the waist, and is expressed in the hands. Or you could even say explodes in the hands. Pa 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 pa. Not. So, soft. So this softness is for a reason, okay? People might think of Tai Chi as a little bit of maybe a wimpy kind of practice or wimpy martial art. It's not really like that. Tai Chi originally was a fighting art and only moved away from it because for various sociological reasons I won't get into. But it's very practical. And it turned out to be good for so many other things that we have all kinds of reasons for practicing Tai Chi. We practice it for our health, we practice it to feel good, we practice it to feel happy. We practice it to practice our coordination. And it can be a very, very powerful meditation, a very, very powerful method for bringing your awareness into this present moment. And, when I'm practicing Tai Chi in my morning practice, there's all kinds of bullshit going through my head that completely is not there, okay? I completely forget about it, and often after my practice I don't even remember to think about it again, okay? So it has many, many health benefits, meditation benefits, longevity benefits, but it's also extremely effective martial art. I used to be the front gate guard for a tropical ashram, and I used to be in some kind of physical confrontation several times a week. And even in my subsequent life, I've lived quite an adventurous life. I've been confronted by groups of anything 3 to half a dozen people wishing me ill, or at least wanting something from me I wasn't prepared to give. And I've never felt, well, no, I take that back. No, I've actually felt shit scared, but I've not felt that I needed it. I've not felt that I basically wasn't able to handle the situation, right? I have that kind of confidence, and usually what happens is when you have that kind of confidence, people don't push it. They're not interested in finding out why you don't appear to be scared of them. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So these principles apply all over. They apply to Tai Chi as a meditation practice. So again, walk. Hold that sacred water. Feel the line suspended from above. Connect to your breath. You can breathe in as you lift the leg, breathe out as you set it down. Soften into the leg you're arriving into. So any kind of disturbance or anything that doesn't feel quite right, maybe you're doing a form. Oh, okay, well that feels a bit better. Just soften. Often you'll find that your problems will resolve just simply through softening. And if anything just doesn't feel quite right somehow, like for example this place now is clenched. soften. And just for perspective, you know, if softening isn't happening, if you're not able to soften right now, then just, okay, this place is tense right now. Okay, well, okay, I guess I can live with it. Just try and experience where you're not soft. Just kind of hang in there. Send some good energy to whatever that place is, you know? It's like, you know, if there's some kid, you know, if you have a kid, you know, I have an adopted granddaughter, so, you know, if she's not feeling happy about something, I don't say, you know, get happy, you know, get a snap out of it. That's usually not going to be very much help, you know. It's like, yeah, okay, I can see I'm kind of a hard time with this, and just, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Hang on in there with whatever it is that is going on. It's less than ideal. That's another thing about these principles. Don't push them, right? This is not some set of absolute rules that you must follow, okay? This is a set of kind of like tips and tricks or life hacks to make your life or your Tai Chi or your fighting, yeah, whatever it is you want to do, work better, okay? Play around with them. When you remember them, experiment with them even in your everyday life, you know? Waiting at the bus stop, you know, looking at your cell phone. Okay, suspend it, soft, straight, you know? There's no reason you have to be like this. Okay, or if you are, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's something that if you remember might help, and if you forget it, yeah, we all forget things, you know? It's all right, you know? Even if you disagree, even if you feel like some of these principles don't really apply to you, you want to do something else, yeah, that's all right too, you know. They're just like a set of tools, you know. You pick them up or you don't, you know. But you may find them useful. Okay, and so thank you for your attention. I'm aware that I have rambled a little bit, but I think I've also covered some of the basics at least. And I wish you well in your practice, okay? This is Martin from Chengdu, China, signing off.